In a setting where the meters for some units are inaccessible from the parking spaces, you will find the main switch and the main housing in the electrical room. These supply power to a transformer to which the meters for the other units are connected. The same housing also supplies power to the common areas meter, to which the transformer and the electrical panel for the common areas are connected. Before choosing the solution that will supply power to the charging stations, an energy capacity study must be carried out by an engineering firm in order to determine the unused capacity of the various electrical components which supply power to the building. Once the available electrical capacity is known, it then becomes possible to determine which power source can be used and whether new components will need to be added to the main electrical infrastructure in order to supply power to the charging stations. Power supply options. Power supply from the metering center. When the unused electrical capacity of the main switch, main housing, and a transformer of a metering center is sufficient, a second meter can be added for units whose main meter is inaccessible. With these new meters, which will exclusively serve to recharge electric vehicles, it is then possible to run a cable to the desired parking space and supply power to the charging station. Adding a column allows for the installation of 6 additional electricity meters. The total number of meters that can be added depends on 2 factors: the unused capacity of the electrical infrastructure and the physical space available. Please note that this solution is only permitted by certain electricity distributors and only when the main electricity meter of a unit is not accessible from the parking spaces. Power supply from the common areas panel. When the unused electrical capacity of the common areas panel is sufficient, it can be used to supply power to the charging stations. However, this solution is not recommended as the electricity consumed is recorded by the common areas electricity meter. It is not possible to differentiate the consumption related to electric vehicles from the consumption related to the building's common areas. Additionally, the number of charging stations that can be installed in this way is always limited. Therefore, this method is not a viable long-term solution. Additions to infrastructure and power supply from the main housing. When the unused electrical capacity of the main switch and main housing is sufficient, it is possible to supply power from this housing to a new switch, a new meter, a new transformer, and a new electrical panel, which usually allows for the installation of 10 to 20 charging stations. However, to add these components, it is necessary to have approximately 5.5 square meters or 60 square feet of available space in the electrical room. Since a new meter has been installed, the electricity consumed by the charging stations will be billed to an independent account. Additions to infrastructure and power supply from a new main switch. If the unused capacity of the main switch does not permit supplying power to the desired number of charging stations, it will be necessary to contact the electrical utility distributor and verify that the network has enough capacity to power a new electrical input. If the answer is positive, it will then be possible to install a new main switch, a new meter, a new transformer, and a new electrical panel, which will allow the required number of charging stations to be supplied with power. Since a new meter has been installed, the electricity consumed by the charging stations will be billed to an independent account. Once the power source has been determined, it is then possible to choose the type of charging stations to be installed, as well as the billing method.